All right, welcome back, everyone. So we're going to continue with where we left off as far as our content is concerned for our Intro to Anatomy unit. Again, pretty short unit, so it shouldn't take too many videos for us to get this stuff completed. So where we left off, we were talking about systemic versus regional anatomy. So we were mentioning that in my class, so the way I teach it and the way it's been taught for a very long time, it's typically the systemic approach, whereas the regional approach is something that is more of the original way that anatomy was taught. Systemic is just a lot simpler. It's body system by body system. So speaking of body systems, let's learn a little bit about each one. With regards to the body systems, we're just learning the basics right now because we have entire units covering them. So there'll be a lot more videos on this stuff in the future. But we're learning the basics. My hope is that if someone were to ask you, like, hey, what's the integumentary system about? You could watch that. You could read this slide and be like, okay, I have a decent understanding, some basic understanding. Also, I noticed this was a picture that when I made these slides years ago, this is a picture that I originally uploaded for Integumentary System, and I just realized it's all muscle. The skin would be on top of the muscles, I guess, if that's contextually correct. So what does the Integumentary System do as far as what we're going to discuss? It's necessary for forming the external body covering. So that's everything from head to toe. It's going to make sure that you have an outer covering, right? Simple as that. In humans, that's of course going to be our skin. Protects the tissue from injury. Now, that level of protection is vulnerable, right? It's not perfect. So, like for instance, a high five is not going to cause my palm to bruise, but something more forceful, more impactful. So, for instance, knocking your knee into a table or something can 100% bruise. So it's not perfect. We're rather soft, squishy creatures. The skin can also synthesize vitamin D. So as far as that is concerned, vitamins are essential for so many aspects of our body's functionality. Vitamin D is a unique one because our body makes it. Granted, the way for our body to make it is we convert UV radiation. We convert UV light from the sun using special skin cells known as melanocytes to convert that into vitamin D, and your body uses it. Now, obviously, too much sun can be a problem, so we'll have an entire unit covering that down the line. Finally, the skin is the site of what we call cutaneous receptors. So these cutaneous receptors, I like to think of them like sensors. They are going to help pick up a lot of information, such as pain, pressure, etc., all stuff relating to touch. We're going to learn about that when we do senses down the line. Last but not least, we also have sweat and oil glands. Sweat, as we should know, is helpful for cooling your body off, right? And these oil glands play a major role in keeping your skin healthy and maintaining bacteria under wraps, we'll put it that way. That said, during puberty, which a lot of you guys in high school are going to be experiencing and are already on the other side of it, your oil glands, especially in the face, start to clog. And when that happens, it becomes a little bit more difficult to manage. So it can cause bacterial infections, also known as acne. All right, moving on to the next one. Sorry about that. Okay, skeletal system. So with regards to skeletal system, again, I think it's a pretty basic, straightforward unit. The point of the skeletal system, as you see here, protect and support body organs. And literally, we can see like certain regions that look like they're designed to protect parts of the body, right? We have like a little helmet here. We have like a little chest cage. We even have a little region here that's being protected too. And that's straightforward, right? The skull is going to protect the brain. The rib cage is going to help protect the heart and lungs and parts of the stomach and liver as well. Whereas the pelvic girdle, while it doesn't protect as much as these other two regions, it also helps to protect the intestines, parts of the kidneys, parts of the gonads, all important regions that need protection. The bones are also going to play a vital role in movement. They provide a framework for the muscles. I like to think of the skeletal system as the yin to the muscular system's yang. They both need to work together for basic movement to occur. I always like to say, if you didn't have your bones and you had everything else of your body, we would just be this blob that would be spazzing out on the ground. So we wouldn't even be able to stand or have structure to our body for that matter. The bones are also responsible. I'm going to go ahead and star this. The bones are also responsible for blood cell formation. So every blood cell that we're going to learn in this class, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, are created from the bones. Super important. And last but not least, we get a lot of minerals in our bones as well. So we get things like calcium, iron, all of these vitamins that are necessary, phosphorus, etc. Calcium's a big one that a lot of people know of, and we'll talk more about that when we do digestive system as well. Next one, muscular system. So here's our yang situation, right? Muscular system, the main purpose is manipulation of the environment. This is considered manipulation of the environment. Me holding a pen and moving it around, that's manipulation of the environment. So it's a fancy sounding word that doesn't necessarily have too much complexity behind it. It's straightforward enough. Locomotion. Locomotion is movement. I think of a locomotive train going from station to station. So locomotion is just getting you from point A to point B. Facial expression. This is a super interesting one. Our faces give off so much information via nonverbal cues. We've all been there before. You're having a bad day. Your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, your siblings, whatever, are like, hey, is everything okay? Maybe you're not in the mood to talk, but your face is 100% telling that information. And it's just subtleties of what the face can contort and show emotion, and many times in a way that you're not even conscious of. Posture. Let me go ahead and adjust my posture a little bit while we're talking. With regards to a posture, it's really all about back health. So what we're talking about here is you want to make sure that the back is healthy, the muscles are strong, because otherwise the spine gets too much pressure, and it can cause, a lot of times you'll see elderly individuals, they're kind of hunched over like this. And it's mainly because of years and years and years and decades of poor back strength and inevitably poor posture. Lastly, it produces heat. That's kind of a common sense statement, right? We've gone to the gym, we've worked out before. When you work out, you sweat. But that heat can also be a survival purpose. If it's cold outside, granted, we live in Florida. For those of you who are also living from Florida, it's not going to get too cold here. But in other parts of the world, it could be really cold. Maybe you're not dressed appropriately. Your body is going to shiver. That shivering is the skin and the muscles generating heat to try to keep you alive for a little bit longer. Next, we got the nervous system. The nervous system is all about fast acting. Now, don't believe that the nervous system is really easy just because you see a short slide like this. The nervous system is this incredibly fast control system. How fast are we talking about? It controls things and makes decisions at a speed of what we call milliseconds. If you're not familiar with the unit, I'll just kind of write it over here for us. Milli is 1/1000th of something. So in this case, this is 1/1000th of a second. We're talking super fast speeds as far as how fast the brain communicates and how fast the nervous system in general sends messages and receives messages. So super, super incredible. It responds to internal and external changes. The external world around us, the only way we know that things are happening, that things are changing, that anything happens around us is through our senses. That's the external changes. So sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. All of those things are basic senses that your body needs to identify what's going on in the world around you. But your nervous system also identifies, hey, is there something different inside? Has something changed internally? So that's really important too, because otherwise your body you don't consciously think of that stuff. It does it on its own. All right, looking good so far. Next, endocrine system. Again, endocrine is one of those units that typically gets a weird rep as far as like, oh, it's just about hormones and being moody. No. Endocrine's all about, yes, it is hormones, but it's all about maintaining your body's day-to-day routine. It's all about regulation. So for instance, here's some things that hormones help to regulate. Growth. There's a literal hormone called growth hormone. Reproduction. It's not just procreating. It's also the reproductive hormones that are made post-puberty, which a lot of you guys would be in that stage. In men, that's going to be testosterone. In women, that's going to be estrogen and progesterone. And finally, nutrient use, aka metabolism. That is super important to regulating a healthy weight. In some people, they have an overactive metabolism. And in that case, which has to do with a gland called the thyroid, we're going to learn about that. In that case, these are people who struggle to gain weight. They could be dangerously low on the weight scale for their BMI. On many other people, you see the exact opposite, where their thyroid is underactive and their metabolic rate is super slow or low, and thus they can gain weight very, very easily. So that's something that we'll talk more about in endocrine. Next, cardiovascular system. Blood vessels are this is all about the heart, right? I'm gonna actually write under this for us. I'm gonna write down A little sloppy, but it's okay. Circulatory. Circulatory is a unit that is similar. It's a system that works together with the cardiovascular system, no doubt. And in my class, I teach cardio and circulatory together. But cardiovascular system, to be more precise, is the heart, whereas circulatory is all about the vessels, the arteries, the veins, and the blood that it carries. So that's what we see here. The blood vessels will transport blood, carry the gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, carries nutrients and waste, all stuff we'll learn about when we do this unit. And then the heart is this incredibly strong muscle that pumps blood through the vessels day in, day out till the day you die. All right. And one thing I do want to mention here, in medical textbooks and medical drawings and medical diagrams, you'll always see the blue indicating veins. That's good for identification purposes, but that does not mean we have blue blood. Even if you're looking at the inside of your arm and you're like, wait a second, it kind of looks pretty blue to me. It's because blood that has deoxygenated, that lacks oxygen, is a slightly darker red. That darker red almost looks like a purplish color. Now, through in accumulation of that, it kind of makes the vessel this kind of bluish purple. And then through your skin complexion, yes, it kind of gives off that blue color. But we do not have blue colored blood. There are some animals that do have blue colored blood. One of my favorite animals has blue colored blood, but we do not. Most mammals, in fact, have red, and there's a very specific reason, which we will learn in cardiovascular system. And last but not least for today, as far as our material, we have the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, I like to think of it as, lymphatic system, I like to think of it as the recycling. Oof, really on delay here. That's good enough, I guess. Let me see if I can fix that G. There we go. So it's a recycling system, or the recycling plant. The reason for that is because it's going to help pick up extra fluid that leaks from the vessels. The vessels are not this perfect tube. They leak fluid a lot. The good news is we have a system that helps to pick up that extra fluid, and you reuse it wherever you may need it. What I always like to tell people is that if we didn't have a lymphatic system, if you ever watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and you remember Violet Beauregard, she chews the gum and she loves chewing gum, and she chews the gum that Wonka's like, don't have this, and it causes her to swell and turn into this plum shaped color. We wouldn't get to that level. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but we would definitely swell, no doubt about it. So trapped fluids in your body cause internal swelling, and you would see it in your skin. The recycling system, or the lymphatic system, also helps to pick up any debris that's found. That's important too. Now I'm going to go ahead and star this because I do think this is also important. That's supposed to be a star. I'm going to draw that again because I'm not happy with how that looked. Okay. It's also the house of white blood cells, more specifically lymphocytes. These are specialized white blood cells that help to attack foreign substances like pathogens that invade your body. So viruses, bacteria, your lymphocytes are your main job here. I kind of think of your lymphocytes like your SEAL team, that they're in and out, they're attacking very specific targets. So they play a massive role. I always like to tell my students, if you're not feeling great, if you're feeling a little under the weather, like you're the start of feeling sick, like scratchy throat, malaise, which is like low energy, tiredness, maybe you have a headache, check your lymph nodes. You have lymph nodes all over your body. Some of them primary lymph nodes are under your jawline, and they would swell if you're sick. You also have lymph nodes in the armpit area, the groin, all over the place. So it's interesting stuff. In my course, we talk about it here and there. We don't have the time to get into detailed information regarding lymph and the lymphatic system, but I try to talk about it where I feel like we can. Okay, so that's where we're going to finish for today, guys. Again, kind of making it step by step, 30-something slides. We're already on slide 14, so I only expect maybe 2 or 3 more videos, and then we'll be done with this first unit. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.